Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary, and this is Not David. So, not David, also known as Real David. Um, he and I were going to record tonight, and he hurt his back again. The dangers of cleaning out the cat litter box, apparently. So David's kind of sidelined for the next day or so. He may try and put a recording out on Tarot by the Bay. We'll see how it goes. It's I was texting with him earlier in the day, and he said, just you're gonna have to do it without me today. That's fine. We had a whole bunch of things that we could read on. He sent me several different topics that were happening in the news. The one I'm going to land on right now, I may do two short readings on this, just two short readings. We'll see how much I have to dig on this one. But Trump came out and he was touting a $2,000 dividend. What's the headline? The headline says, Americans to receive $2,000 tariff dividend. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said it could come in other forms. So Trump came out and said that on True Social post that a dividend of at least $2,000 per person, not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. Basically, he's trying to bribe the American public. Like with the COVID checks. This is his version of COVID checks. Then Scott Bessent was asked. Was asked about just what's Trump's plan for this, because Trump is notorious for having concepts of plans, right? So when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was pressed on it, he argued that Trump's dividends can manifest in a variety of economic benefits. Here's the quote: "The $2,000 dividend can come in lots of forms, in lots of ways." Bessent said. He was talking to George Stephanopoulos. It could be just the tax decreases that we're seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. He said, it could also be deductibility of auto loans. So, those are substantial deductions that are being financed by the tax bill. So, in other words, Trump's telling everyone that they're going to get a $2,000 tariff check. And his Treasury Secretary is like, no, they're not. they don't have a plan. He's just throwing it out there to placate people. So let's take a look at the energy on that, because now we're getting two different ideas. And Trump is a master of throwing something out there that's just vague enough for you to fill in the blanks. And then after all the dust settles, he claims that he delivered the promise, but the promise he actually delivered on is not necessarily the expectation of the person who heard the promise. He did that all through the election. I watched him do it when they had the interview with the black writers. What was that? Hold on a second. It was he was speaking at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Chicago. And he came out and he started talking really vaguely about, how all you people have been mistreated in the past, but not anything specific. And when I was watching it, it occurred to me, that's how he does it. He speaks in these very vague and general terms, and he says just enough, and then he lets you fill in the blanks, right? And credit to the black journalists, they weren't having it. They were like, let's be a little more specific here. What exactly do you mean by that? And he got really upset. You're all nasty and horrible, and you didn't even welcome me. You just came out and attacked, and deflect. Just like what he did with Zelensky, right? You didn't come in and thank me. Thanks, JD Vance, right? So that's Trump's MO. I have a concept of a plan. I'll speak vaguely about it. You fill in the blanks. And, when those sea monkeys arrive from your comic book and they don't look like what the comic book shows you, well, that's your fault. Your imagination said that the sea monkeys were going to look like this or do that. And I delivered sea monkeys, brine shrimp. It's just a comical approach that he gets away with. So here's the $2,000 dividend, and Scott Bessent is saying, yeah, but it might manifest in different ways. You know, when you say you're going to get a $2,000 tariff dividend, every single person on the planet in the United States is thinking there's going to be a check in the mail for $2,000, and I'm taking that to the bank, and they're going to put $2,000 in my hot hand. And imagine the disappointment when it turns out to be, oh yeah, well, you know, that car loan you've got, you can write off some of that interest on that. Or yeah, those tax breaks we gave you in the big beautiful bill, that's where your $2,000 is. You'll see it when you file your tax return. Yeah, there's going to be some disappointed people, I suspect. So entertainment purposes only. Let's look at the messaging, the general energy around this messaging. You know, this is me speculating, okay? I don't know what the hell's going on. What the hell do I know, right? But let's look at the energy around this. What is the energy on Trump's $2,000 tariff? Is this a firm plan, or is this a concept of a plan? Okay, foundation is justice. Well, this is what you voted for. The cross is the Knight of Wands. Okay, so this is what you wanted. The challenge here is the actions being taken that meet your expectations. You know, the justice is, we deserve this $2,000. It's a tax after all. You've been taxing us. And the challenge is, how are you going to deliver this? Energy underneath it is the World. That's an interesting card to me, because, you know, if you're going literally on tariffs, it's like, okay, this is money that the world is paying, which is complete bullshit. This is money that is being paid by import-export companies in the United States that are importing these goods from the world. But the world is also the end of a cycle. So this so far is an interesting reading, and I'm kind of wondering if I'm getting the reading for the question that I'm asking, but I'm going to keep going. In the past, you've got the Empress. I'm doing what's best for the United States. This is going to be in everyone's best interest. We're going to make America great again, and we're going to be prosperous, and everyone's going to invest in the United States. King of Wands, look at all the actions I'm taking to make all of this happen. And there's my little salamander friend. I love him. Overarching energy is the Nine of Pentacles. Look how wealthy we're going to be. All this wonderful stuff. This is kind of like his promises that the world is paying these tariffs and everyone's going to benefit because of my heavy actions, and we're all going to be prosperous and enjoying the finer things. Lesson to be learned is the Ten of Cups. We'll be one big happy family. This is what you voted for. This was the promise, you know. This was the big dream, the promise that was given to you. And the outcome is, and we're going to be celebrating that promise. That is a fascinating read. So to me, this is kind of what they're selling. So the general energy is, this is the theme of what they're selling. And this is kind of what MAGA is buying, right? Is that, you know, maybe the courts will allow the tariffs, or, you know, this is our opportunity to fight back against all these foreign nations that are honoring contracts that U.S. corporations entered into with them to manufacture outside of the United States. We're going to take actions against those contracts and those agreements because we want to make the United States used to be more prosperous. So I'm going to take actions to make it more prosperous. And we're going to look like this with our fine clothes and all the money around us. We're going to be a big happy family, and we're going to celebrate this, and the world is going to pay for it. That is the dream they're selling. Okay? That's the great American dream. The problem I have with the $2,000 tax tariff check, there's a couple of issues that could happen. First of all, the Supreme Court could rule that Trump's use of tariffs was illegal. And my understanding is that he would have to return that tariff money back to the companies that paid for the tariffs. I've not verified that, but that's what I've heard. It could also be that he may try and propose a $2,000 check to everyone in the United States. Um, but then Congress could say, no, we're not using the money. Congress appropriates the funds. This is not Trump's money. This belongs to the House and Congress. They have to appropriate these monies. They get to say what it goes to. Trump doesn't get to tell them. It's not a unilateral Trumpism. He can lean on them, but he doesn't have the final say. So if the tariffs are upheld, this is Congress's money, and it seems like there's a lot of MAGA congressmen that want to pay down the debt. I mean, that was the whole thing. He's raising trillions of dollars, and their whole thing is about cutting the deficit. So there's going to be pushback on that as well. So this $2,000 check, it's a pipe dream at best. Let's take a look let's do a side-by-side. Trump versus Congress on this. Congress on the left, Trump on the right. What do we need to know about this? Because I've said a couple different scenarios. First it's got to happen. I guess I should throw the Justice Department in this too, or put the courts in it. I'll put the courts in the center. How's that? So, and how are the courts going to react? Because you got the three branches of government, right? Let's start with the courts. Okay, how are the courts feeling about this? Okay, so you've got the Seven of Wands. You're going to have to defend your actions that you've been taking. The Empress, I love that card. Okay, so you're taking these actions. You're saying that the United States needs to be defended against enemies. That's why they're doing this, is that we're being under economic attack. You got the Strength card. Is how strong is this case? Is this case going to pass legal muster? And then you got the Page of Swords. It's kind of like a creative approach to this. I have no idea what that means. Okay, let's see what Congress is feeling. Page of Pentacles. Ooh, we got new money showing up. We need to take care of our money. We're going to get lots of money. But there's a truth to it. There's a truth. There's an action we need to take. Okay, so far it's feeling like the money's going to show up. That the courts are going to somehow uphold the money. This money's going to make it to Congress. What's Trump going to do? Okay, so I've got all this money that I'm looking at, but it's giving me. I've got anxiety. It could be the amount he thinks he's getting and the amount he actually gets is going to be a lot less. I mean, that's kind of a collective duh. You got anxiety. It's coming to an end. He's worried, and Hangman. He's got to look at this in a different way. Wow, this is so bizarre. I think right now Trump is feeling like the Supreme Court is not going to rule in his favor, and that these tariffs and the agreements that he put together are going to fall apart. So let's go with that as the premise. What's Congress? We got this promise of money, promise of things of value, and we need to take care of the voters, the people of the United States. We need to look after everyone, the old people, the young people, on this, and the sort of truth, and give them the truth about this. And then the courts, you got to defend your actions. We got to look at what's best for the United States. The Strength card is puzzling me. The Page of Swords, you're willing to fight. Oh man, let's get a clarifier. Let's see what's the linkage. What's the clarifier on this underneath it? Lover's card, about relationships. Building relationships. Is that relationships with our international trading partners, or is that the relationships between the branches of government? Oh boy. So the two kind of linkages, I think the courts might still lean into letting Trump have the money, But what I think is going to happen is Congress is going to use the money in a different way than Trump wants them to. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. I may be completely wrong on this. Open to interpretation. Your interpretation is every bit as valid as mine, but that's kind of what I'm feeling we're getting from this. Is that I suspect the Supreme Court is going to allow, if not completely, in large part, these tariffs to continue. That Trump probably won't have to give the money back. Congress will be happy with all this money. But Trump is not going to be happy with how Congress appropriates it. Maybe there's going to be a fight. Who knows? But that's what I've got on this one. So I'm going to end it on that. Like I said, I'm going to do one more short video. And we'll just put that out too. Because there's just so much to read on. And I'm not sure when Dave's going to kind of get back into it. Some of these I don't want to do without him because they're going to be a lot more fun. One of them is, I just saw a little blurb on Vladimir Putin. Now he's got this weird hand thing going on that they've captured on him. And they're saying his health is kind of crappy. And then Dave sent me a TikTok where there's some speculation that Trump might have gotten rushed to Walter Reed Hospital before flying down to Mar-a-Lago. I'm assuming that was prior to this weekend, like on Friday, last Friday when I was down in Disneyland. So I am not doing that without my brother. So there you have it. I just want to thank you all for watching these videos. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe and hit the bell. We'll wake you up. We'll wake you up at midnight with a new video. Dave and I will be fast asleep because we schedule these videos to come out at midnight. We are not awake hitting the start button for you. So I want to give a couple of shout outs. Someone had suggested I do cat shout outs, and the response has been as robust and enthusiastic as I expected it would be. So I want to give a shout out to Barbara Sobel, who's also not David and not Gary's #1 fan. I paused the video. I have no idea where I ended this. And I'm too lazy to edit it. So, okay, I apologize. I have no idea. I've been yammering on for the last couple of minutes. I have no idea where I ended this. I did a card for Barbara Sobel, who's not David's and not Gary's #1 fan, and it was the Nine of Pentacles, which is a great card. That's probably where I ended this up. And I want to do just a quick shout out at the risk of giving duplicate shout outs to Catherine Beebe for her 2 adopted black feral cats, Stubby and Socks. I'm going to give you a separate a new card because they listen to the podcast. And the star, yes, they are now the star of the show. And then Gumby Pokey wanted to thank me for the shout out to all the cats and her adopted kittens, Wookie and Mojo. They mean the world to, I'm sure they mean the world to Gumby Pokey. And hey, you know what? Cats, they mean the world to a lot of us. And then I'm just going to wrap it up with Bonnie I. Chemist. Sweet Kitty RT says hi back. Sweet Kitty RT has got the Page of Wands. Thank you for that nice message. And then Karen Jensen. And Karen was the one I was thinking of when I was giving the first set of shout outs. She's got Orion, Nyx, and Kitten Persephone. I don't know how to pronounce that. Karen, put it there phonetically for me. I'm assuming that this name has some sort of either literary or historic kind of a vibe to it. But and then you've got Echo and Eclipse, definitely a cat house here. Hey man, I understand. We had 6 cats in a Great Pyrenees. We were definitely a cat and animal house here. And no judgment. Sorry if I butchered the kitten's name. Yeah, let me know how to pronounce that. And then a card for the rest of us, cat lovers and dog lovers, and those of us that I'm going to give you the same card. You got the star card. You're all a bunch of stars in my eyes. Be kind to animals. It's just God gave us animals to show us what, absolutely unconditional love is, and they burrow their way into your heart like no one else can and nothing else can, and it's really hard when you lose a pet. It hits so hard. So for all of you out there, thank you for taking care of your animals. For those of you who have lost critters, I get it. My heart goes out to you. It is so hard when they're gone. So enjoy them while you got them. Hope you all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.